saying hi. I'm taking a sip of coffee for the morning. First sip. We talked about how the breath is always with us. Doesn't matter what's going on. Breath is always there. But I didn't point out the fact that actually our breath is most of the time happening in an automatic kind of way in the background, and that we're not really fully taking control of it. When we practice together, there's a few things that I think I've mentioned them, but let me make them a little more explicit. We're not really trying to change the breath. The idea is not that we're trying to adjust or make it longer or deeper. Sometimes when you go to a yoga class, they tell you how to breathe and they teach you how to make your diaphragm move down, and that's all well and good, but that's not what we're aiming for. It's not take a full deep all the way to the exhale, all the way push it all out kind of a breath. And I love that kind of breathing. It's just a different kind of breathing. This kind of breathing that we're doing is noticing what is about the breath. The result of noticing how the breath is that it will slow down. By and large, it will slow down and it will become deeper. But just noticing, the power of noticing is that we begin to be able to transfer that skill into later into our lives when we're overwhelmed or we're on a deadline or we're walking around and then we realize, I'm not breathing deep. I'm breathing really shallow. I'm holding my breath. And then we can take a moment and actually recalibrate ourselves. So it's the noticing of the breath itself, how it actually is. That's the most important key to all of this. Because when we then later on notice that we're not breathing and we're all anxious and are all tight and our whole body and our mind and everything is all tightened up, and we notice, oh, I'm not taking deep, full breaths. Then we can make a decision to relax, to allow a little bit more air to come in, to slow things down a little bit. And then, by and large, I'll tell you, just breathing in a measured, full way actually does physiologically affect me. It changes, it allows me to relax. And psychologically, physiologically, everything kind of loosens up around the breath. In our tradition, there's the teaching that in Genesis, one of the ways, there's two different ways that human beings were created. But one of the ways that human beings were created was out of the dust of the earth. They say the dust of the earth. But what I want to point out is actually the second half of the sentence. This is Genesis 2:7. The way that human beings were given life, and I think this is still true today, is Vayipach be'apav nishmat chaim. Is the divine blew into the nostrils the breath of life. Nishmat chaim, so in the Hebrew, we also would refer to the soul as the neshama. Nishmat, neshama. You don't have to have a PhD in Hebrew to know the similarity there. Vayipach be'apav nishmat chaim, the breath of life. Vahi ha'adam lenefesh chaya, and the person was then animated and alive from that breath. And I think if we pay attention, if we notice, actually, that is true. We are being breathed. Not just from our waking moments, not just from the beginning, but all night long when we're sleeping. We're breathing. not on account of our attention. When we wake up in the morning, when we're walking around, and until our last breath, we're being breathed in some way. And what an amazing gift. What an amazing gift that we can breathe, that we can slow it down, that we actually have some power over it, right? By and large, actually, it's happening to us. We are being breathed. If you notice, when you bring your attention to your breath, it's like a miracle has just happened. You realize, oh my gosh, I haven't even been paying attention to this thing for all this time, and it's still going. It's still been going, even though I haven't told it to do it. Right? And I know there's a biological explanation. There's a nervous system that's doing all kinds of this and that and the other thing and keeping us moving. And I think there's also a mystical, spiritual explanation, which is that without our effort, we're being kept alive. We're being brought to life in every moment. So we'll practice today noticing that. One of my teachers, I spoke to Rabbi Jeff Roth, who, if you haven't heard him teach, I will give y'all the opportunity, I think tomorrow. I can't remember exactly what times he's teaching, but I have the invite online if you want to see it. You know, isn't it interesting that in some way we are all on God's respirator? That if you actually pause and notice what's been happening in our lives, the fact that we're not really paying attention to our breath, but that it's happening nonetheless, that actually we can take a step back and in our practice notice that we are being breathed. You can even notice it right now, just to sort of pay attention to how it's working. It's just coming in and out. It's just, it's not on account of me. That's true for all of us. So let's do that. Let's pay attention to our breath today from that particular angle. This is just another angle. So I've given you a few angles to come into the breath with. And today, so you can use any one of those breath practices. You can use the inhale, the full inhale like your body. You can use those 4 parts of the breath to sort of keep your attention there. You can also use the counting, either one of those counting pieces will help you keep your attention on what's happening. And this one is a little less of a foothold. It's more of a noticing. It's a subtle practice. It may not be the right practice for you just because it is subtle, and you may want something more to hang on to. So go back to one of those counting pieces. Go back to one of those noticing the parts of the breath pieces, and use whatever tool helps you stay with the breath best. So I'm giving you a bunch of different ones. You can try this one today and see how it goes for you, and over time it may change. So you always have these tools in your toolbox, in your tool belt. So let's practice. So the instruction, just to be clear again, is to notice the breath being breathed into you and out of you. Just noticing, trying to make yourself very still and attentive to the fact that without doing anything, your breath is coming in and out of you. So we'll do that now. I'll ring a bell and we'll practice. We have 15 minutes to practice. Just taking a quick check of your senses, listening to your surroundings, feeling yourself seated or being held up. Bringing your attention to your body, to how it's being breathed, and seating your attention, putting your attention in position to notice the miraculous breath coming in and out without us really doing anything. And noticing the quality of the breath, its pace, its depth, its relentless consistency. Notice that the breath changes. No two breaths the same. Giving some gratitude for this amazing little breath. So small, so subtle, so powerful, so critical. Witnessing it. Deep breath. Slow exhale, extending it. Feeling the calm. And starting to move our body a little bit. Shoulders and neck. Hips. Ankles. And I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow at 1 Central.